so easy every day. Living in Lubbock, the one and only LBK. We got rock and roll, we got the blues, two-stepping in the honky-tonks and our cowboy boots. Through the dust in review mirror you can see our rhythm and roots. Rhythm and Welcome to another episode of LBK Rhythm and Roots Podcast. I'm your host, Jason Robertson. Today we're in Studio 1314 at Citizens Tower in downtown Lubbock. Season 2 has started off great. We've had some great guests, local legends, and today is no different. Today in studio, I have the talented Mr. Junior Vasquez. Junior, thank you for being here with us today.
My pleasure, Jason. Thanks for asking, man.
Absolutely,
Sure.
absolutely. It's such an honor. You know, last week I had Kenny in, and it's such an honor when I get somebody who I've seen out play multiple times. You know, we don't really know each other, but I've been able to watch you and watch you do your craft, and I'm a fan. I just want you to know that.
Been doing it a long time, man. Still practicing.
Yeah, that's right.
I was practicing before I came up here. So.
That's right. So. Yeah. Where are you from? Where did you grow up? Where are your origins? I mean, I know you're a West Texas guy.
Oh, yeah, and that's a loaded question with a lot of, the Reader's Digest. I'll just do the Reader's Digest. How's that?
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, actually, my dad was a farmhand. They moved here in this area back in the early 50s, and of course, prior to that, we were migrant workers, and he was doing migrant work, but they settled in Lubbock in the late or mid to late 50s, and I was born in 1956 here in Lubbock, but my dad was a farmhand, and my birth certificate actually says Lorenzo, but I was born at Loft Clinic over here on 19th and University. Somewhere in that area, there was this clinic called Loft Clinic. The only reason I know that is because on my birth certificate, right? And so. So anyway, I was one of 11, 5 brothers and 5 sisters.
Big family.
Yeah, a humongous family, and moved around a little bit. And we didn't really settle into the area until I was probably about 5 years old, 6 years old, and because I remember as a little child, 4 or 5 years old, going up north and following, the harvest, up into Colorado and in Montana and probably California. And I was probably 4 or 5 years old. I have vague, small memories of being in a strawberry field or in an apple tree orchard picking apples, and of course I was just hanging out, being a little small kid, but I still remember those. To this day, if I get a good fresh strawberry and I take that bite into the strawberry, man, I'm taken back when I was that old, but
yeah.
But we settled in and started. I started school in Idalou, Texas. I was there for my 1st and 2nd grade, and then from there, my dad got a job in Petersburg, and then moved to Petersburg my 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade, and that's when I started playing guitar. And I was in the 5th grade. My uncle was a great player, singer, and we'd have the family gatherings, and I just picked it up. I can't recall for sure how it happened, or whatever. And then my older brother was also a guitar player, and he had a guitar like in my 5th or 6th grade, and I would play on either his guitar or my uncle's guitar. But that's when and of course music was around the family, and so music was a big part of my life, and I just kind of naturally was drawn, to music.
So, out of your 11 brothers and sisters, or you're one of 11, is any of your siblings, do they play or sing?
Not anymore. My 2 older brothers did play for a while. And actually, I learned, again, from my older brother a little bit as well, guitar player, and then my other older brother was a drummer.
Okay.
And so I can play a little bit of drums as well, just banging around on their stuff. And they played quite a bit back in the some late 70s and early 80s, and they moved to Nashville, and they played some in Nashville, but and then the rest of us, most of us sing a little bit, but as far as actually playing music, they did some, but I pretty much have been playing music most of my life.
Only one that made a career out of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So from that time you started, kind of how did your relationship with music grow from there? I mean, did you just kind of start playing in more family gatherings?
Yeah,
and
no,
then
actually,
eventually
not really the family gatherings. I would number one, I was a big listener. I would love music, and I would listen to music. We had back in the day, as a 9 and a 10-year-old little kid, I was out hoeing cotton, during the summer. And my older brothers and sisters would have transistor radios, and sometimes they would let me borrow those transistor radios. And so I'd be listening, to the radio, listening to the Monkees, listening to, whatever was on the radio, like Wooly Bully and Hang On Sloopy and Louie Louie and all these, maybe some Beatles and eventually into some Hendrix and
so
then
this is late 50s, early 60s?
No, mid 60s.
Mid 60s.
Yeah,
okay.
this is mid 60s because I was born in 56, and so 10 years old I was
mid
10.
60s.
Right, it's 1966, because from the 5th grade in Petersburg we moved to Roosevelt, and in Roosevelt my 5th and 6th grade year, and that's when I really started playing a little bit more and found some other kids that played. So we put a little garage band together, and that was the first time that we learned about 3 or 4 songs. And had a bass player, a guitar player, and a drummer, and I actually taught the drummer how to play drums and the bass player how to play the bass notes, and we were called the Young Rebels. There was about 5 of us, and so we did it. We did an assembly, and as a 6th grader, so I was 11 then, and so that's when the bug really hit. I got bit by the musician bug. And so that's pretty much started. And it was pretty much just rock music. Most people, even though growing up I was listening to conjunto music, most of that music that my parents played around the house was Spanish, Mexican, accordion type music. But I was listening to what was on the radio at that point in time.
So that conjunto music, is that originally based? Is that Mexico style music?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, it's from what I gather, of course the accordion came from Mexico and it made its way up into the they call it Tex-Mex as well. Conjunto music. There's some conjunto music in Mexico and some in Texas. So I'm not sure exactly the roots, but it comes from that area.
So when you guys had your young band, were y'all writing any material?
Oh,
at that time?
no. We weren't that astute. We were just a bunch of kids making a bunch of noise.
I bet it was fun.
Oh, it was a blast. I mean, of course it was a blast, and it was just neat, to get up and we actually, I wish there was a recording or a picture or something of it. But I guess we made sense of it. I'm not sure,
Yeah.
From what I remember, we kind of did.
Did y'all play any more gigs after
Nah,
that?
was we just played that one time. And then from there I moved to Abernathy. And in Abernathy from the 7th and 8th grade, I finished there most of my 8th grade. And then we moved to Lubbock in 1971. And to this date, my mom still lives in the same house that we moved into, the Arnett Benson area. And I went to Matthews Junior High School. And then there, finished my 8th grade. In my 9th grade year, I met another guitar player, a fellow by the name of Jay Teneyuki, and he had an older brother named Paul Teneyuki, and the brothers were musicians. And so started playing some with Jay, and we did some of the assemblies there as well. And at that point, we started doing like Cat Stevens and Jim Croce and that kind of stuff, and Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, and that started. That was the beginning of a band that I played with back in the 70s called Peyote, and that band called Peyote, we played off and on from the 72, 73 up until the late 70s, different variations of different, of musicians, but the constant in the band was myself and Jay Teneyuki, and we were pretty much, different variations of that, but that kind of catapulted us into the field of playing rock music, and we played back in the day, man. There was all kinds of places to play, and I remember as a sophomore in high school, the first paying gig, I think it was either the late sophomore year or the summer before my junior year, and got the first paying gig, or maybe even earlier than that, at Chelsea Street Pub, which was at the mall. This when the mall first opened, I think 72, 73.
Place.
Yeah, and then they served food there. The Brittany was next to it.
That's right.
And but that was 72, 73, and there was 5 of us in the band, and we all made like about $12 a piece, and I thought, hey. For
making a living.
Yeah, heck yeah. I thought, hey, this I'm gonna get paid, for doing this, and
go to Piggly Wiggly and get a cheeseburger.
Heck yeah. And at that point, $12, I mean, that was a lot of money.
Yeah. I bet.
And I thought, okay, well, this is interesting, and that's also when I met my wife, Mickey, and she was the pianist in the choir. I was singing in the choir, and still playing in the rock band as well. But I was also singing in the choir, and she was the accompanist, and so we started playing together as a duo as well. Just not in public, just kind of playing, and obviously we started dating, and then. We've been together ever since we were 17 years old.
That's a cool story. Does she still play?
Oh yeah, we play often.
Oh really?
Yeah. I can share a little bit of that here in a little bit as well. And yeah, and so we've been playing together, pretty much all our lives, and raising kids and all that kind of fun stuff. I just kind of jumped ahead a little bit, but
that's okay.
But anyway, so that's so just started playing around town. In the early '70s, there's Chelsea Street Pub, Silver Dollar Saloon, Fat Dogs, Main Street Saloon, Town Draw, of course, the Cotton Club. A lot of places to play. And then we also did some traveling because the Chelsea Street Pub became a circuit. The Chelsea Street Pub had two owners here in Lubbock, and they opened up several locations throughout Texas and Louisiana. So we did a tour of the
nice.
Chelsea Street Pub. And not writing a lot of material, to be honest with you. We were more of a copy man,
Yeah.
And
I think that's how everybody starts.
yeah, and it was fun. At that point, of course, the Maines brothers were playing, and Ely was playing, Joe Ely, a band called the Planets, and there was several country bands.
John Jordan and those guys.
Yeah, right, and those guys, and so there was all kinds of stuff and all kinds of music, man, everywhere. Acoustic guitar players, jazz. There was some jazz. There was some rock. There was some blues. There was some heavy metal. I mean, it was happening.
Kind of sounds like what's going on here today.
Yeah, pretty much what's happening today. Maybe not. Maybe today not as much places for full bands to play like back then. Back then, it was more bands than there was solo. Now it's more single or duets, acoustic stuff than there is band places.
Yeah.
So that kind of has reversed, and I'm fine with it because it's good for me.
That's right. It pays the bills, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You mentioned Jim Croce. Do you still do any of his stuff?
Oh, yeah, I still do.
What's your favorite Jim Croce
Oh,
song? I'm a big fan of his.
Yeah. Probably Time in the Bottle.
Yeah, that's a great one.
And
Mine's Born to Love You.
Yeah, he had so many great songs, and of course, and then Dan Fogelberg. We used to do a lot of Dan Fogelberg and a lot of Eagles and Crosby, Stills and Nash, some Neil Young, and a band called Batdorf and Rodney, just acoustic music. We used to call it acoustic rock, And
were those kind of your primary influences as far as when you started writing your own stuff?
Pretty much, I think you can listen to some of my music, that I have recorded in the last 10 years or so, 15 years, and you can see some influences, from Fogelberg and a lot of 3-part harmony, a lot of acoustic. I call it acoustic guitar driven, music because the acoustic guitar is the main instrument. In all my music, obviously, because I'm an acoustic guitar player and I write on my guitar, and so yeah, it's and we used to call it folk rock, because it has a little bit drive. It's not country. I mean, even though some of it may have a country feel to it, and nowadays, the word Americana, I don't know when it first showed up. That word was not here back in the '70s. It's folk rock, I call it, or it's kind of but. Anyway, labels are labels, and you either like the music or you don't.
That's right. Well, everybody's got their own taste.
Yeah, exactly. And I like all kinds of music, but that just happens to be that's where I landed, and I didn't actually own my own guitar, till I was 15 years old. I just played on everybody else's instruments.
Just borrowed one when you needed it.
Yeah, exactly. And of course that was when I was 15, and we moved to Lubbock, and that's when I bought a little pawn shop guitar. It was an Aria. I paid $45 for it, and that was in my 9th grade. And the summer before my sophomore year, which was '72. And anyway, so all these years later, and 3 children, 4 grandchildren, and been through all. Music has been a constant as far as me making a living playing music. Just probably within the last 15 years, as far as full time, I did it back in the '70s a little bit, but but I always had and also had another job because it was hard just to make money off of music. unless you traveled, and did all the
Sure.
things, or you landed a a record, deal with somebody, or
Especially
something
if you
like
have a
that.
family
Yeah.
and you cherish that time with them.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's hard to split that.
And so we didn't start a family till 1983, but so but in the meantime, I would hold on different kinds of jobs. I was a roofer. I worked out in people's yards. Kind of a yard guy. Worked at a music store at Al's Music Machine. Did a lot of construction work during the '80s. Mickey and I got saved in 1981. We committed our lives to Jesus Christ, and we started playing contemporary Christian music in 1981, 82, somewhere in there, 83. And we started doing the contemporary worship music. And so I laid aside what at that point we would call secular music, and just we dedicated ourselves solely to the gospel and playing just all Christian music for almost probably until about 93, 94. And
decade there.
yeah, yeah, and so I was at that point. I was not in the music scene in that aspect of it. We were playing my wife and I, and there was another friend of ours that we had a little trio called Burning Heart, and we would travel and play different churches and those kind of things, and doing that. The Jesus movement.
Yeah.
That's when the contemporary Christian music really started going into the churches, and it was in the early '80s, and we were a big part of that. And as we grew in stature and in wisdom and in knowledge of the gospel of Jesus, and realizing that it's meant for us to go out, and so we weren't as dogmatic about just gospel music only,
Just in the church.
exactly. So we thought, we got to go out. So and that's when Don Caldwell got a hold of me in the early '90s and asked me if I would be interested, because I knew Don in the '70s. Through Lloyd and Kenny, and we'd done some recording, a couple of things there at his studio, and Don got a hold of me and asked me if I would be interested in performing at what he was, they were just opening in the Cactus Theater, and they were doing these nostalgia nights, music of the '40s, the '50s, the '60s, and that's when that started, and so I was in the beginning of that, and that kind of started me in getting back into doing the music that I'm doing now. It was in the mid '90s, and but it was a lot of fun, doing that stuff with Don. It was a blast.
Haven't you done some acting too?
Yeah, I was in on several plays there. I was when they did the Buddy Holly story. It ran for about 2, 3 years, 4 years, and the first. Actually, all through there, I played the part of Richie Valens,
I remember that. Yeah.
Donnie Allison, of course, was one of the buddies, and then they brought in a couple of guys from England, one guy from England, one guy from New York, and then I also did some other plays there, and then I also did a great little thing. It was called The Soul of the West with Andy Wilkinson and oh golly, what's his name? I'm drawing total blank on the other writer. It was a musical. It was called The Soul of the West, and it was a musical about Charlie Goodnight and Paladoro Canyon, and Red Steagall. Red Steagall was his name. And so that was pretty neat. It was a musical, and I played the part of a sheep herder named Cola Martinez, who was a friend of Charles Goodnight. But anyway, the story basically was about Charles Goodnight and how they explored this area. Quanah Parker and
I bet
and
that
I
was
was
a
on stage with
blast,
Barry
man.
Corbin
Yeah.
and a bunch of top-notch actors that I thought, what in the hell am I doing here?
I bet that was a blast.
It was a blast,
man.
and we took it to we performed at Bass Hall in Fort Worth. We performed at George Washington University in Washington D.C. And so anyway, I did a little bit of that as well. But that's when I started getting out and playing again in the restaurants. Started doing those things back in the '90s, and started just playing more and more and more, and recorded and finally did an album of original music in 2009.
Is that kind of when you really deep dived into
Yeah,
songwriting?
I did exactly, and a little bit before that, started writing some, and I'm not going to say that I'm a prolific songwriter, because I've written maybe 40, 50 songs, in my lifetime, There's guys that have written hundreds.
Oh yeah.
And I know, and I have some ideas. I know there's some songs that I wrote and I didn't put them down, and
Yeah.
and maybe there's some lyrics here and there. But as far as full songs, that I can attest
still a
to, and I
pretty
can say,
good
hey,
amount
look,
of
here's some
songs.
songs.
Yeah.
And then I'm still writing. I'm working on a couple right now.
Yeah.
We're working on some material to hopefully have enough material for an album that Mickey and I are going to
nice.
put together. And
Y'all gonna do one together?
yeah,
Nice.
it's good. It'll be. Even though she's played on the two albums that I had prior to that, and actually we had another album in the '80s. It was a gospel album, a Christian album, and I wrote some material for that. It was gospel music, and but this one is going to be it's going to be my wife and I, and we're starting this new project. We're calling it Chapter 23.
Nice.
And it's just, it's her and I perform, I perform all the time, and she performs with me on occasion. But from now on, whenever she does perform with me, we're gonna be called Chapter 23.
Nice.
And what we're doing is we're traveling as well. We just got back from Rio Dosa. We played in Rio Dosa last weekend. We played in Colorado this past summer. We're going to play at Red River, and we're doing some of these house concerts, some of these smaller venues that are small concert halls. Seat about maybe 75 to 100 people. And so that's what we want to do with this music. We want to be able to, because man, I'm getting up in age, and staying up past 10 o'clock is hard.
Yeah. 6 o'clock 2-hour gigs are prime time.
Yeah.
So
Anyway,
so she writes as
I'm
well?
jumping all around. No, she doesn't. She has ideas, and she helps me.
That's great.
And I run stuff by her, and then she'll say, "Well, you know what? I think you've used that line before." She'll go, "You know what? That kind of sounds like that other song you wrote a year ago."
It's good to
And
have
she'll go,
that.
"Oh, you're right. She does the same thing with my jingles.
Yeah.
Whenever I write a jingle, I write in a jingle, and we'll talk about that here in a second. But it's like but which is great. I have to have that, because otherwise, you kind of do forget about it, and because in your mind you're thinking that kind of sounds familiar, and she goes, "Well, actually, it does. You use that melody in this other song or this other jingle, whatever." I said, "Oh, okay, you're right." So then I shift and I flip it around or do whatever. But,
Yeah. So is it pretty special for you to be able to be on stage with your wife? And I know you know what I'm about to talk about.
Yeah.
When you're on stage with a group of people that you really connect with, and you just get in that zone where you can feel the music and everything, so that you're connecting with the crowd and you're feeding off that energy.
And-
Does it make it even more special?
Oh
that
yeah, it
it's
does.
Your wife?
And then also our son plays with us. I don't know if you know Micah Vasquez,
Yeah,
bass
sure
player.
do. Yeah.
Well, Micah played with us.
So talented,
We're playing
man.
Friday night. As a matter of fact, the Cotton Court. All three of us are.
Oh wow, that's going to be a great.
Yeah,
show.
and so and it's a beautiful thing where you can it just flows naturally, and
Yeah.
it's just there, and it's naturally and almost effortlessly kind of a thing, and but that's and especially to me, not only the connection on stage, but the connection that goes out to the people, that's just as important for me as well. And that's why we like to do these house concerts and these smaller venues where people go to listen, listening room type things.
Absolutely.
And then that way you can really connect, and you can share your heart, and you can share your stories. And that's why I don't do a lot of my original music when I play in the restaurants, and I just want to. They're kind of special to me, and I don't want to just put them out there. And even though I'll do a couple of them that kind of lend themselves to do that, but a lot of the stuff I want to kind of hold on to it. That way, if I do if I do a smaller venue, even here in Lubbock, and people will know, I can say, look, I'm going to play something different. They're going to say, well, why should I pay $20 to come listening to you? I can hear you for free. Triple J's, blah, blah, blah. So you really can't hear me though, because it's too dang noisy.
It is.
Or wherever I play, right?
That's right.
And so anyway, so I can use that as a draw. Say, look, well, I'm going to be doing my original music.
Absolutely.
And I'll still do some of my favorite covers as well. Some of the songs you may like, but come listen. Come listen to my new stuff. That kind of stuff.
Well, and I think for me, I try to stay true to the craft of songwriting, and I've been to a lot of really intimate songwriting sessions, and to me, the best ones are where everybody's quiet and everybody really listens.
Sure.
And they honor what the artist is doing.
Sure.
Because it's a very vulnerable, intimate place for a songwriter to pour his heart through song.
Yeah. Sure. There's something something about that. It's almost a spiritual thing.
It is. Absolutely. So you started writing songs, and kind of got going with that, put an album or two out, and you've written a lot of jingles. So let's talk about that. How did you get started? Were you approached by somebody to actually write one?
No, actually, I was. This was again me, working side jobs while still playing music. Back in the '90s. Go back just a little bit. Back in the '90s, when Don called me to go play at the Cactus, I was actually a sheriff. I was a deputy sheriff. Yeah, for about 9 years, I worked for the Lubbock County Sheriff's Department. I was a deputy. And so that was my full-time job, but then I would do music in the evenings. And at that point, I was still doing worship music at different churches. And I did that up until about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. That was another constant, through the 80s, 90s, 2000s, worship. I was at Alliance Baptist Church, and then I went to Oakwood, and then I went to First United Methodist Church, and then I started a little fellowship out at the Spirit Ranch. For the last 13 years, I was out there. So that was a constant, and I was still doing contemporary Christian music, worship music all along. But then during the day, I would have different jobs, like the sheriff there. And anyway, so back to the question, answer your question about the jingle, is in the early 2000s, I went to work at KLLL as an account executive. And they were bringing in what we call jingle gypsies. These guys come in from out of town. Mm-hmm. And then the radio stations bring in their potential customers, and they sit around a table, and these guys are going to write a jingle. They do jingle packages, Hey, we'll write you a jingle, and you pay so much a month, and we'll advertise your business and blah 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 blah. And so these guys would come in, jingle gypsies come in and take the money from this area, and then they would leave, right? And so I thought, man, I can do that. And so. One of the managers that was there, she went on to Channel 28 and 13, and she has asked me to go with her, to go work with her and her AEs there at the TV station. So an opportunity came up that somebody needed a jingle. I said, well, I can do that. I mean, I know I can do that. So that was so that's how we got started. That was early 2000s, about 2002, 2003.
Do you remember what your first jingle was?
It was for was it Carol? It wasn't Carol On. It was something like Carol On, but I cannot recall. But then the second one or third one was Carpet Tech.
Oh wow!
And then Roof Master, and then Comfort Masters, and then Wayne's Liquor Store, and then Lujan's, and then Sparkman's Nursery, and then. They just started falling.
So now you're the jingle gypsy.
Yeah, now I'm the jingle. Well, but except I stay home,
That's right.
and the money stays here in Lubbock.
Yeah.
So I've written, many, many jingles in the last 20 years, and still writing them. As a matter of fact, I'm working on one right now.
Oh, cool.
For a local business, and I've probably written in the last 20 years. I bet you close to 100 jingles.
Do you start off with a melody, or do you start lyrically when you start writing?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
It just depends. Just like writing songs, I don't really have a set way of writing per se. I do have to have, one of the things that I need to have with me is obviously the name of the business, and if they have a slogan of some kind,
something
like if your home is a red call, Carpet Tech, or Lujan's Mexican restaurant. What are you waiting for? That was their little slogan.
Yeah.
So if I have that much, then I can work with that. Then that's what I start with. And then I think, okay, what style of music goes with this business? If I can match a style of music to that business, I wouldn't want to do a bluesy rock and roll song for a ladies, lingerie shop.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? So you don't match, so you got to be aware. I mean, you use your common sense.
Absolutely.
And so
what's the target audience?
Thank you very much. Exactly right.
Yeah.
And it's exactly right. Who's the target audience? And then again, what makes sense, as much as possible to that business. And then I'll also, as much as or as little as the owner or the owners want to input in it, I say, well, tell me, and some of them will say, I'm paying you to do it, you do it. And someone will say, well, you know what, I think I'd like for this song to be kind of like Bachman Turner Overdrive, or, a ZZ Top kind of a feel song.
Yeah.
I'm going to say, okay, I can do that.
Yeah.
And so, and you just kind of start working on it, and before you know it, you got it, and there it is.
I think that would be fun.
It's a lot of fun, and I'm looking here to really start promoting it again sometime this year. I'm working on my own website, and I'm working on on another website called the Lubbock Live Music Scene.
Yes, I've seen that.
And that's a website.
And what a great resource you've put together.
That website right there is something that everybody's been waiting for. Everybody that I talk to about that website, they go, man, it's about time somebody has a website dedicated solely to the Lubbock Live Music Scene.
Let's talk about that a
Yeah,
bit.
you bet.
First of all, tell us what the website is and what the content is, because that's
Sure.
what I use when I want to go watch
Yeah.
music.
Well, yeah, number one is I wanted to build a website, and I've had this idea for about 7 years. I bought the domain name about 7 years ago, Lubbock Live Music Scene. .com. I bought it, and I thought, I'm going to do something with it one of these days. Because I would go out of town, my wife and I would go out of town, and we'd be looking for live music, and you click live music, or music live in Austin, and you'd find some kind of website, and maybe the chamber would have a website, or the city had a website, or somebody has a website. But man, it was hard navigating through there to find, and you would click about 20 clicks, and you finally got there, and then these pop-up ads starts coming in, and I thought, forget it. So I thought, I need something simple, just 2 clicks away. And something that is specifically designed for that scene of that city. And so anyway, so I had that in mind, and I finally, catapulted it about 10 months ago. And it's so that this website you get on, it's called LubbockLiveMusicScene.com, and you get on the page, and just a brief, page. The first page, it tells you a little bit about the scene, what's happening in Lubbock, and so you have your hamburger thing up here on the right. They call it the hamburger, I think, what they call it, where you click on it, and it's local entertainment, and then special events, and then you got a page dedicated to an artist spotlight, and then a venue spotlight, and then another page dedicated to a newsletter, and then another page dedicated to the history of the Lubbock music scene. And I'm still working on it. I'm not anywhere near finished with all of that yet, but it's a work in progress. But the main part of it is that, like you said, you can go on there and you can find out who's playing anywhere on any given day. You click, today, July the 23rd or 24th. Go click on July 24th, and there's about 15, and the weekends, there's 35, 40 places with live music. It's amazing.
Crazy? Well, and you don't really, it, especially as a musician, because you play it at a lot of them. But until you really see it in front of you, you're like, oh my God.
Yeah,
there's a lot of support here.
Oh, it's amazing. And and more so now, I think, than ever before, because we were talking earlier, there's more people, so obviously there's more musicians and there's more restaurants because there's more people. That's just the way life goes, right? And so on any given weekend, it's amazing. You can find, 30 to 45 different venues that have live music. And as I guarantee, but I would guess that if you were to compare it with some of these other big cities, and population wise, and that we probably per capita we probably have more venues, I think, live music than probably some of the major cities. I'm guessing.
I would be willing to guess the same.
Yeah, I would be willing to guess the same thing. And so that's what we're doing, and so we're excited about it. I mean, we work on it every day, and we're almost ready to go ahead and try to get us a sponsor. We're looking for a main sponsor for that, because right now it's on my own dime, man.
Well, I will tell you, it is the most comprehensive list of local live music that there is. I follow several Facebook pages.
Yeah.
As I know you do.
Oh yeah.
And they're great.
Yeah.
But I think your website is more comprehensive and complete as far as an overall picture.
Right, exactly.
I think it's pretty solid.
And then with the artist spotlight and with the venue spotlight, give us some extra little things on there, Yeah.
Are you doing some video and content of each artist that you feature?
Yes.
Just like a little write up of them?
Yeah, a write up, and then there's a video of that individual, and then of course links to their websites and
that's so
and
great,
and their music and so forth and so on, but yeah, it's an amazing thing, and we're just we're trying to get it to the next level. I hate to use that term. Everybody uses that term, to the next level, but it is to the next level.
Yeah.
But what by that I mean is
to monetize it.
Yeah, to monetize it for us, because right now it's all on my own dime, and my wife, she puts all this stuff in there, and we call all the venues, and some of them respond, some don't. It's like pulling teeth, And one of the things about the website versus social media is that everybody has access to the website.
That's right.
But not everybody's on Facebook, not everybody's on Instagram. I probably know more people that are not on Facebook.
Yeah.
They want to find out who's playing where. And somebody goes, well, go to Facebook. I'm not on Facebook. and you have to become, member of so and so page, da 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 da.
Yeah.
And nothing wrong with that. I mean, that's all good and well, and it's
Sure.
it's to me it's added.
It's a
It
good
just
resource.
adds more, another resource. But,
Yep.
but as far as I thought, a website, anybody can your phone, your computer, you can get on that website we've gone from from when we first opened up this website. On the search engine optimization, the SEOs, when we first came up the first month, man, it would take about 2 or 3 pages before our name came up. But I didn't really know what I was thinking, but I think I was thinking in the right way, because Lubbock live music scene, all those 4 words are keywords.
Yeah.
You type in Lubbock music scene live. And so now when you type in anything, Lubbock Live or Lubbock Music or the music scene, Lubbock or Music Near Me,
yeah.
we're number 2. We're number 1.
That's
we're the
great,
first
man.
thing that comes up.
Well, you've done a great job. With it.
Yeah, and kudos to my wife, Mickey. She works so hard. She's working on it right now as we speak.
Well,
actually,
my wife. The only reason I know about it is my wife.
Yeah.
If I'm not playing, we go listen to music.
Yeah.
Unless we're taking care of kids.
Yeah.
And so she's like, "Hey, I found this new website maybe a couple months ago.
Yeah,
3 or
yeah.
4 months ago.
Yeah.
And so she's the one that introduced me to it.
Right.
So thank you for doing that.
Yeah.
man.
See, and this
It's a
one,
great
if I'm
resource.
monetizing it, I'm able to advertise that website. I
Absolutely.
want to put, maybe run an ad or two on TV or on the radio or somewhere, just to get more people to go to it, and just get it out there. But anyway, it's an exciting
Well,
thing.
that's a great thing you're doing. Thank
Thanks.
you.
My pleasure.
So I want to ask you a couple questions here before we wrap it up and get to a little private concert
Yeah.
from you. But in your opinion, to me, Lubbock is a very special place for music, not only for performers but songwriters of multiple genres across the board. And I know over your career you've witnessed that, what a special place it is. What's your theory on it? Do you think it's the water? Do you think it's the dirt? I hear lots of different things.
Man, I think it's just a combination of a lot of things. I don't think it's just one specific thing. But I do know that one of the major things is generational kind of a thing. What I mean by that is if you start looking at some of the generations of families that have played music, like I'll just use the Mains for an example, or the Moyers. The Mains, their dads started and their uncle started back in the 50s and 40s, maybe early 60s, right? And then came the other Mains, right? And then there's other Mains, right? And then same thing with Moyers, which is Wally Moyer's dad played back then, and Moyers and
Jeremy,
so forth.
and,
Right, exactly. And then there's several other families like that as well. Dustin Garrett and his dad played, right, and it goes from generation. And then on my side, is now first me, and then now my son and my daughter Tori. We didn't even talk about Tori. I'm sorry, my mic's way out here. And Tori, she's an incredible singer-songwriter, and of course my son being a great bass player as well, and even our oldest daughter Michaela's a great singer. But anyway, so Mickey's dad his name was Bob Stufflebeam, and Bob Stufflebeam was a steel guitar player, and he played with the West Texas Playboys, Tommy
wow.
Hancock. He was and that was from the 50s. So, you got Bob Stufflebeam, then Mickey, of course, my wife, and now our children, and so I think a lot of that is generational.
Yeah.
And it just kind of rubs off. And so that is to me part of the foundation and the pillars that continue to keep Lubbock, in going that way. It's these guys and gals that yeah, there's some famous people that left Lubbock and became famous or whatever, but then, man, those that stayed and kept that foundation, generation after generation, and it continues, and from there filters out. Other people. Oh yeah, did you hear that person? Have you heard that guy? Mike Pritchard. You heard of Walney. Have you heard of DG Fluella? Some of those old guys. We've been around. Now, and then all these younger people. Yeah, man, we love him. And then they go, oh man, he inspired me when I was little, and now they're playing too. Yeah. So that's generational as well.
Yeah.
And so it just kind of feeds itself. And thank God for those of us that decided to stay, and I think we have been part of what has kept that music going, and those of us that we're still here, and kudos to all of those guys and gals that just decided to hang out.
Well, and I think also city of Lubbock is very supportive of the
course,
arts,
sure.
of music and cultural arts in general.
Yeah.
The venues here, there's a lot of locally owned venues that are huge in playing a part in promoting and growing the music industry. You know, all the songwriter competitions and nights and
you're
open
right.
jams
Sure.
and, you know, the jam that's been going, that Sprott and those guys have been doing
For
since
30 years, whatever.
Yeah.
Since Jesus was born. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, and that's the thing there. And another thing that we need to give kudos to, and I do it as much as I can, and I think as musicians we all need to do that, or even the fans, be sure and tell the business owners, the managers, the restaurant owners. I mean, hey, thanks for having music here.
Absolutely.
Because without them, we don't have anywhere to play.
That's right.
Well,
and that's where 90% of the population gets to know people like us is on a patio somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one more question here. If there's anybody, aspiring musician, artist, singer-songwriter, young kid out there watching or listening, what advice would you give them as far as, what maybe not to do or what maybe to do to kind of kickstart that career?
One of the things that I would say is how passionate are you? Is it a passion, or is it just going to be like a little side thing, and you kind of enjoy playing it, and that's good. That's good as well. But if you really want to make a living at it, make sure that it's a passion for you, and I think then the passion will push you through it. If it's true passion, if it's just something that and I encourage you as well, if it's just something that you're doing because you like to do it and it's fun and you're kind of good at it and you want to get out there, maybe play a few songs here and there, and that's great. And then maybe a year or 2, 5 years from now, you put it down and you go on. And then there's some of us that I'm 60, almost 68 years old. I've been playing music all my life. It's a passion. I was born with it.
Yeah.
And so you develop that, and that passion is there, but then you still have to develop that passion, and you have to, you have to put time into it. It's not just going to happen. So many, I see this happen all the time, all the time. I mean, I see it happen often, where somebody wants to play guitar or piano or sing and once they start doing it, they realize how hard it is, and it doesn't come easy, and you got to put a lot of time and energy into it, and you go, and it's okay, and then life goes on. It's okay.
Yeah.
You tried it. It was fun, but then there's some that it's a passion, and it drives you, I'm constantly singing in my head or making noises or tapping. You saw my foot a while ago tapping. Mm-hmm. I mean, and if you have that, then find somebody that's better than you are, or more advanced than you are, man, and hang with that person. That's how I learned.
Yeah,
I didn't take one single official lesson. My lessons were on the job training, and learn from other players. And so, anyway,
great
whatever
advice.
that's worth.
Your buddy Kenny said the same exact thing last week.
Yeah, Kenny Means.
Yeah, what a great guy.
Yeah.
Junior, tell our listeners and viewers where we can find your music. I know you've got your music listed on several different platforms.
Yeah, I do. All the regular ones, iTunes and Amazon and Spotify and all those kind of places. And also, I do have a website. It's called therealjuniorvasquez.com.
Is there a fake Junior Vasquez?
There is actually, because if you type in Junior Vasquez, that's why I started using my first name here recently as well, Calistro Junior Vasquez. Calistro Junior Vasquez or Calistro Vasquez Jr. I'm trying to put my first name in there because if you just type in Junior Vasquez, there's a Junior Vasquez out of New York that is a real famous DJ.
Okay.
And he or a person that does remixes, old disco type songs. Mm-hmm. And he's really big, but he's from New York. His real name is I looked him up. His real name is Donald Mattern. And I think, Donald, why did you change your name to freaking Junior Vasquez? There's only one. No, but anyway, so yeah, people would type in, they couldn't find me. They say, well, we found this guy, but we can't find you. So I thought, okay, The realjuniorvasquez.com. Because so
Okay.
anyway.
So check out the realjuniorvasquez.com.
Right.
Check out LubbockLiveMusicScene.com.
Exactly.
If you're wanting to get out and check out some live music in the Lubbock area, Junior's put together a beautiful website. It's a pretty comprehensive list. I mean, it's the most comprehensive I've seen so far. So thank you again for doing
My
that.
pleasure,
Tell your
man.
wife thank you. That's
You
a
bet.
great resource.
You bet.
And
Thank you, Jason.
check him out on Amazon, Spotify, Apple, iTunes.
iTunes,
Yep. All right.
a couple albums out
Well,
there.
thank you again for doing this.
My
I
pleasure,
really
man.
appreciate
Thank
your
you,
time.
Jason.
This is
You bet.
great.
It's been a pleasure.
You guys stay tuned. We're about to have a live performance from Junior. You can catch all these episodes on the City of Lubbock's YouTube channel. They're also aired on the City of Lubbock's TV channel, My LBK Connect. The audio is also streamed wherever you find podcast streaming. So until next time, enjoy Junior Vasquez, and we'll see you guys on the next one.
Good afternoon, Junior Vasquez here. The first song that I'm going to play for you this afternoon is a song called I'll Be There on Time. Driving all night long just to be where I belong. Storms can't hold me back. I'm driving through, me and my Cadillac. Road's been hard, but it's been friendly. Gotta stay between the lines. Miles and miles between us, but I'll be there on time. I'll be there on time. Sunday morning, first thing I hear is a piano song. Reminds me of you when you play for me and I sing along. Road's been hard, but it's been friendly. Gotta stay between the lines. Miles and miles between us, but I'll be there on time. I'll be there on time. Please wait for me. I'll be there soon, just you see. And Laurel, Mississippi is on the way. Why don't we stay? Road's been hard, but it's been friendly. Gotta stay between the lines. Miles and miles between us, but I'll be there on time. I'll be there on time. Driving all night long just to be where I belong. All right. I'm going to keep the capo on the second fret for this next song as well. That makes it easy for me. That way I don't have to worry about where the capo goes. This next song is a song that recorded here a couple years ago. A song called The Trunk. There's an old trunk in the hallway, the one your mother left to you. It's just 3 steps outside our bedroom. I lost the key when I lost you. You left me one Sunday morning. The sun was breaking through the clouds. The seed of forgiveness I had planted never got a chance to sprout. There's an old 45, a silver ring, a golden crown. You were the homecoming queen. Love letters you wrote, my cross on a chain. I can't break the lock, I couldn't stand the pain. Oh, the pain. Your coffee cup still in the pantry. How I wish that you were here. The flower garden that you planted, still blooming every year. There's an old 45, a silver ring, a golden crown. You were the homecoming queen. Love letters you wrote, my cross on a chain. I can't break the lock, I couldn't stand the pain. Oh, the pain. Oh, oh, oh. There's an old trunk in the hallway. It's been there for 7 years. I found the key under the stairway. I think I'll open it today. Thank you so much. You know those old trunks like a lot of us have that been handed down from generation to generation, those cedar trunks, you know, when you open it up, you got that cedar smell, and you open it up and you find all kinds of treasures in there, right? Newspaper articles and little baby shoes and those kind of things. And that's what inspired that last song. This next song I'm going to do is a song that I had a privilege to co-write with one of the latest inductees into the West Texas Music Hall of Fame, Kimmy Rhodes. She was inducted last year, and she was here in 2019 with the Buddy Holly Foundation and the Buddy Holly Songwriting Camp or Festival. They've been holding it here now for the last 3 or 4 years, and I was fortunate enough to be asked to be part of it, of the first one and actually the last couple, and I want to do it again this year. And it's going to be the first week in October. But anyway, so all these writers come in from all over the world, and then we meet here in Lubbock, and we write music together 4 days in a row, and then we perform some of those songs on a Friday night at the Buddy Holly Hall. And so anyway, this song I co-wrote with Kimmy and a fellow by the name of Robert Vincent. He's from England, and the song is called No Tom Petty. It was inspired by obviously the passing of Tom Petty, and anyways, and it's on Kimmy's newest album. If you want to look it up, look up Kimmy Rhodes and a song called No Tom Petty. And anyway, that was pretty neat to have a cut on her album. I read the news today, oh boy. It really made me stop to think. Oh, with this global warming stories, is it fake news or should we worry? 'Cause we're living in a world with no Tom Petty. The world was bad enough already. No George Harrison, no John Lennon, no David Bowie or Buddy Holly inside. Where do we go? Where do we go from here? Tell me, where do we go? Where do we go from here? Oh, this apocalyptic thing, it really scares the hell right out of me. I wonder where on earth we'll be when all the rock stars go extinct. 'Cause we're living in a world with no Tom Petty. The world was bad enough already. No George Harrison, no John Lennon, no David Bowie or Buddy Holly inside. Where do we go? Where do we go from here? Tell me, where do we go? Where do we go from here? Already, no George Harrison, no John Lennon, no David Bowie or Buddy Holly inside. Where do we go? Where do we go from here? Tell me, where do we go? Where do we go from here? Tell me, where do we go? Thank you. I want to switch guitars real quick. It's a little guitar, but it's got some sound. Of course, this room is totally dead, so there's no thing in here to make it really. I'll do one more.
Yeah, one or two more, whatever you want to do, man.
This next song is called Chapter 23. Where do we go from here? Now that we turn the page, that chapter's done. Chapter 23 promises to be adventuresome. Adventuresome. One page at a time, learning something from every line. us to streams and mountainsides. Let's go outside. There's the bluebird in the tree, singing melodies I feel alive. One page at a time, learning something from every line. Storyline is clear. There's been laughter, there's been joy, and there's been tears. Tears. When the ending comes along and we lay this all book down, was there love? Yes, there was. One page at a time, learning something from every line, every line, every line, every line. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. This next song that I'm going to do is another song that I co-wrote with some writers last year that came in for the Buddy Holly songwriting camp, and it's a song called "Little Things." These little muscles in my face can't fake a smile another day. All the small talk that we make, I can't hear a word they say. The chemistry inside of me, it makes me want to run and hide away. Hey, hide away. What can I take to help relieve tension taking over me? Every step is incomplete, can't feel the ground beneath my feet. Anxiety controlling me, I know it's in my head. I can't breathe, oh, I can't breathe. My head is upside down, my heart is inside out. I'll lay my body in this bed until tomorrow comes around. All these little things seem insignificant, but when you live with them, they haunt you all the time. It's the little thing, the not so little thing. I can sleep through the night, little thoughts that cross my mind. I shake the house, I flip the lights, I can't help it, Lord, I try. How can I be an enemy of something in my head that I can't see? Oh, I can't see. My head is upside down, my heart is inside out. I'll lay my body in this bed until tomorrow comes around. All these little things seem insignificant, but when you live with them, they haunt you all the time. It's the little things, the not so little things. Oh, the little things. My head is upside down, my heart is inside out. I'll lay my body in this bed until tomorrow comes around. All these little things seem insignificant, but when you live with them, they haunt you all the time. It's the little things, the not so little things. It's the little things.